Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. It is some nice symmetry on the calendar, September 9th, so 9/9 at 8:05. Here we are in the Wave Now studio for tonight's edition of Wave Extra. I'm Jose Sosaya, once again, joined by, we appreciate having a recurring
2 days
guest.
in a row.
That's right, our reporter Logan Perrone. But, this is barring any, breaking news or some kind of story that would require much more of Logan's attention. Thankfully, Logan, it's not that this is necessarily a complicated story. It's just that, you were there to get the information, get a look for it for yourself. And it has to do, there's the economics of it, the planning, how to manage with such a massive crowd that we're expecting for the first of 2 weekends, Logan, that are going to be huge music festivals back to back. The first being Bourbon and Beyond.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you folks didn't catch on to what we were talking about already, I don't know what you think we were going to be talking about. Yeah. So today I was graciously given with the other media members, a early behind the scenes look at the new site of Bourbon and Beyond. So I want to emphasize, folks, that this is a new venue, but it's not far from where it was previously. So prior to this year, the festival has been at the Highlands Festival Fairgrounds. It's literally going to be right across the road, Phillips Lane, here at the Expo Center in the parking lot. That turf is covering pavement that was there previously. So, their idea was several years ago that, hey, we're going to be at the fairgrounds, but they have been eyeing up that property for quite some time now. And so that does a few things for them. It literally doubles the space that they are going to have. So this year they're saying it's 2.4 million square feet of space. That's, again, twice as many as last year. Those main stages are going to be bigger. Those are the side stages you saw there. But the main stage is bigger. So the Oak stage and the other one right next to it, I'm blanking on the name right now. I got so much information coming my way today. But yeah, the Oak stage going to be where the headline is.
And with a reminder, we're going to, parse through this on the website, and then we're going to go back to just so you get a look at the side stages there. But Logan, you got to talk to sort of the team, the organizing team. They're the event entertainers, the planners. Just what's the sense they were getting of, obviously, it's familiar sights and sounds for folks who grew up in this neck of the woods, being that, they're going to get to talk or enjoy even Kentucky Kingdom, which maybe that hasn't been the case for ticket holders, at least not in the past festivals, right?
Unless you wanted to pay and walk across the street.
Which is there. It's convenient to get there, but it's not like it was a perk.
Right. So now it's a perk, guys. So if you are a ticket holder for Bourbon and Beyond and or Louder Than Life, you will have access, free admission to Kentucky Kingdom. That includes, again, access to rides. It's 2 to 9 p.m. for Bourbon and Beyond. And I believe they said the Ferris wheel, Jose, also going to be open an extra hour. So
this is a News Extra on Wave Now.
We're trying this. I did not think the sound would play on that, Logan. So thank you. Okay.
Well, I was going to say that blasted my ears. Not as loud as the speakers.
No, it's the audio system gets a little sensitive. Okay,
right,
but that would be but that also nice setup for there, because we're going to be talking about so many acts that maybe you will wear your maybe you will wear your earplugs, maybe you won't, depending on how close you get to the stage.
Yes. So they also said, and this is one thing that I didn't get to put in at 6:00. When I was on set for Wave News at 6, they're actually going to have additional speakers and screens out further towards that big one you see on the left there. That screen,
that panel, you might call
that big panel. Yeah, that's going to be out. I think they said it's the delay system, I believe. I'd have to go back and see if I caught that on a recording, if I heard her. The GM of Danny Wimmer Presents, that's the organization that hosts these events, say that. I believe that they're going to have the screens out there. So one of the things that was addressed was, hey, like, we want to be able to hear it when we're like walking around, getting drinks. So that's just another way that you're going to be able to make sure you can hear the events that you're going to be, attending, whether that's Noah Khan or, for me, none of them, unfortunately, whatever I can hear from outside the venue covering.
I'm sure, but there's those names you wish if you had, or if this was something you were wanting to splurge on those tickets. A lot of recognizable names, because you might argue, with festivals, you want to sort of build that mystique or that allure for bigger names as something is starting to want to come by. And it seems, at least based on the headliners, and you're discussing sort of where those stages are going to be for those main acts, Logan, that this is generating that kind of buzz.
Oh, yes. No, Lumineers, Fish, again, Noah Khan. Those are just a few of the names that were mentioned today as headliners of this event. And I believe more than 100 people are going to be playing Bourbon and Beyond, Louder Than Life. And one thing that we did actually get out earlier in the 6th that I want you folks on the stream to know, last year, Bourbon and Beyond, because of the draw that this event, these 2 back-to-back 4-day weekends, 4 days into the weekends, have been generating, that kind of buzz here in Louisville. Last year, Bourbon and Beyond became the largest music festival ever held in Kentucky. And that's going to get broken this year, guys. They're expecting Louder Than Life to be bigger than Bourbon and Beyond last year. So already this event is breaking a record at, the organizer set last year. I mean, for all that they've done and all that they've put into it, Jose, you got to really commend them for not only doing it in a way where it makes sense to not only the people going, but also, the oh my gosh, I'm blanking.
No, it's okay. I was going
to playing.
Right. And I was going to ask you too, it's them at least being the event planning team adapting where they think, there's the benefits to this new location. It's ground for at least, local music fans. They understand what's going on, how to navigate, how to park. We had been at some prior, open meetings the public could come visit, because when you're dealing with a music festival of this size and scope, the sound is also going to kind of bleed out into the neighborhoods. And there was even that sort of motivating factor to how do we mitigate the sound that's going to be playing for 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, so that was one thing that was addressed, that this move to the Expo Center actually does help alleviate some of the sound bleeding just based on where it is in that area. Again, like I said, it's just a move right across the street, folks. But at the end of the day, that little shift in the way that it's been laid out, you're going to see the music I feel like the stage is all face inward. So that's going to help alleviate some of that bleed for the people that live in the immediate area. Again, and if you guys are familiar with the area, it's close to the airport. It's already a noisy area. So, one might think, oh, that's the perfect place to put a music festival. Yes, but you got to account that there are people that do live in the vicinity of the airport, of the Expo Center. And so, again, just a minor detail here, just the layout of this venue for both Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life is going to benefit the people in the area.
And I have to imagine when you were having that discussion with the organizing team, they're still very much, they're optimistic with reason and expectation that if it's grown to what it did last year, that there's no reason they can't also, keep this sort of economic success going for them, right? You had a chance to talk about that as well.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. And again, that's the one thing. Obviously, you build a bigger space, you get more people into the building. It generates more revenue, more people to the city. It's just an overall economic driver, right? And I think part of that is, again, they know that this is something that, the organizer said, you can only get something like this in the city. We actually have some of that soundbite that we played earlier in the 6 o'clock news. I want to play that for you now. Again, something you can only get in the city is what they're going for.
There's going to be nothing like it. There's no other festival experience in the world that is going to be like Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life. And that's something I think in Louisville we should be especially proud of.
And again, just something that the city is able to say, hey, look, we have one of the biggest 8 days of music. I believe they said in the Northern Hemisphere.
It's quite a claim.
It's quite a claim right here in Louisville, Kentucky. So anytime that you're able to say like, hey, that's our town. That's something that we do. That's something that we put on. They got people coming this year from all 50 states. And I believe they said about 50 countries. So again, when we talk about this growing into what it's grown into, they're not exaggerating. The move to a bigger space accommodates a bigger draw that we've seen over the last few years. And again, certainly with the headliners that they brought in, like last year they brought in Zach Bryan, Jose, and I'm a big Zach Bryan fan. I had just seen him in concert a month earlier, so I didn't bother to get tickets, but I would have gone had I not had those tickets back home earlier.
I don't know if you can discuss, and that may be something just out of my own curiosity to break down where the industry revenue is for live experiences in particular. If people who love going to concerts, it's often one of those expenses, Logan, where it's just like all it takes is that one artist, that one musician to convince people, if they can find especially a whole bunch of really recognizable artist names in one place, like, it makes business sense. It makes business model sense. Now, when you're dealing with a crowd, I'm sure a lot of folks will be thinking, what do I do to get in at a decent time? Where do I go? How do I sort of find a way to, get in, get out? Because otherwise you're going to be in that sea of people and you have to manage it regardless because you want to stick around for the whole show.
Yeah. So for anyone that did go last year, this is going to be different and a change for this new location. There will be 2 entrances. One's going to be on the north side. It'll be along the Circle of Champions there at the Expo Center. And then the other will be at that main gate to the Expo Center that we normally see. And so by adding those 2 entrances, they control the flow a little bit easier. And they also said that they've optimized the schedule for both Bourbon and Beyond and Louder Than Life to what they think would be the best fit for the movement of the crowd. So, if you like one artist, say this group, you're going to have a few people, good amount of people from one artist move to another. They've optimized that. So a lot has gone in to the planning of where the artists have gone. Again, every little detail was not looked over by the organizers. And again, they said that's for safety reasons. That's for logistical reasons. There's a number of reasons that they did, all these changes. And so when you look at the venue, the location change, the venue layout, the logistics that have gone into it, the safety factor. Again, that's even one reason they moved it to the concrete over on the Expo Center. They said, look, less rainouts. If it rains, that turf that they're putting down is going to be a lot
in the mud.
Is a lot better than the turf is a lot better than slipping and sliding in the mud. And trust me, I was actually out there for the cancellation of Louder Than Life. I covered that story last year. When Louder Than Life got canceled because Helene rolled through what was left of Helene rolled through here.
And it was enough to just, completely put a wrench in everything for
those folks. I mean, it's the Louder Than Life folks. Yeah. And again, I commend y'all because you guys were very upset, which by the way, Slayer is coming this year. For the folks that missed him last year, they will get to see him this year, hopefully. But yeah, no, they were super pumped. They were like, we wanted to stay out there. This is not metal at all. And so you gotta give them credit for saying, okay, hey, this move makes sense because we also get to, avoid a situation like last year. We do get to still stay in and try and make it work. Obviously a thunderstorm and lightning, they're going to do what they can, but also the Expo Center's right there. So there's an indoor space to put people if this happens. I mean, everything that happened last year, tight spaces, people ask for more room. They're going to have more room. Coverage for the rain. They're going to have coverage for the rain. So there's a lot of things that just moving to this one location checks a lot of boxes. And then just one other thing to mention, you mentioned Kentucky Kingdom. I wanted to touch on this. I got caught on the hot mic asking what I thought was a silly question. I said, okay, so if you're free admission, right, you get your drinks at Bourbon and Beyond. You can't bring those into Kentucky Kingdom, right?
I'm sure they've thought of that.
So yeah, no drunk roller coasters, folks, but you can buy a drink at Kentucky Kingdom and bring it into the music venue. That's allowed. So you just can't bring it in. You can take it out.
Right. When we're specifying no consumption while strapped into a roller coaster.
No, you can't bring your drink from the festival area,
from festival grounds onto Kentucky Kingdom.
Yes, if you're going into Kentucky Kingdom, you cannot have a drink in your hand.
Got it.
But
once you're inside,
you can get a drink at Kentucky Kingdom and bring it out. So no getting boozy and then going on roller coasters, folks. I know that sounds silly. I was like, oh, this is a silly question. But then she goes, oh, no, this is actually something we want to address. You can get a drink at Kentucky Kingdom and bring it out, but you can't get a drink at Bourbon and Beyond. And then with your free admission, bring it into Kentucky Kingdom.
It all comes back to security. They
all comes back to safety and security. Yes,
contingencies. So, all right, Logan, we're looking forward to how much of the grass, the turf, the concrete we're going to show us tonight on Wave News at 11, right?
Yes, and I got some cool shots with our funny little Osmo Pocket camera, so I'm excited to show you guys that. I think we actually have one in there, but I got a few more I want to show you guys. Awesome. So Wave News at 11, watch it. It's all good fun, and if you're going out there again, please be safe. Please be responsible. I would say don't do anything I wouldn't do.
Which is true. Which is true. Don't do anything Logan would not do.
Perfect.
It's about all right.
There we go.
Let's take a look outside. As we think our Logan Perone, taking a look at our sunset view from our Jeffersonville Skytrack camera, enjoying what's left of the sunlight and the city lights all meshed together. It is 8:18. We're going to do a quick reset. By the way, don't miss Logan tonight on Wave News at 11 with the rest of the storm tracking team, of course. Also, our sports director, Kendrick Haskins, who, by the way, is coming up after the break as we're going to break down. Sorry to say, Cats fans, because this time we just want to break down the Cards men's basketball ACC matchups and the like. So we'll be right back with much more Wave Extra. All right, folks, here we are back in the Wave Now studio for tonight's Wave Extra. So happy to be joined by our sports director, Kendrick Haskins. And Kendrick, as much fun as I'm going to have talking, breaking down more college football previews, high school football, because CDFN season, by the way, is still in full swing. Yes. He knows it because they're going to be having those long nights. But it's also exciting if you love college basketball. And on top of that, if you're a Cards fan, I want to walk through some of these games in the schedule we now have with you. If any, stand out to you, breaking down some, I guess, some goals and some hurdles, perhaps, Pat Kelsey's new team is going to have to overcome, given a new roster with some familiar players and some not. So let's walk through as I set this up, and I hope folks can kind of see that it'll keep stretching through. Eyesight not great, but just wait until like the 10th second. And I'm going to kind of come up to. Let's wait for that. Okay. There we go. I'll pause it there. So if you want to look at any of these, and we'll kind of go in different sections, Kendrick.
Of course, what stands out is the two games, the Kansas game, which is an exhibition game that is always on the dreaded Friday during high school football. Fun stuff there for us.
Because he can be in two places at once.
And then, of course, the Kentucky game, which is super early for that game. The Kentucky-Louisville basketball game is actually before the U of L UK football game this year, which is extremely weird. You're still trying to figure your teams out at that point. I don't think you're going to be able to tell who's going to be the man or at that point in the year, but it's going to be fun for the fans because the game comes back here. That game at Cincinnati, it's a neutral court game, but it's in Cincinnati because it's not at the fifth.
Because how does that? Because it's almost like I was laughing thinking of the just now the Nebraska-Cincinnati game at Arrowhead, where it is a neutral field, but Nebraska fans had a shorter trip. Right, they had a shorter trip, so you can kind of get more of your fan base out there. I think Cincinnati, call it a. It's artificially, it's a home game. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and it's played in the downtown arena as opposed to the on-campus arena.
They're going to benefit
That's what
from
makes it neutral court.
Crowd
of
size.
course, that game at Arkansas, this stretch right here, at Arkansas against John Calipari, Indiana up in Indianapolis, and then back home to renew that rivalry with Memphis, which Jose, I'm sure you heard about it down there. Back in the days, the Louisville-Memphis rivalry, when I was growing up,
that was a thing.
It was as big as the Louisville-Kentucky rivalry. Well, there for a while, Kentucky and Louisville didn't play. So Memphis, back when they were Memphis State, was Louisville's biggest rivalry. And so you had to think about the days of Keith Lee and Andre Turner. My favorite name of all time in basketball, Baskerville Holmes. That played for Memphis.
Do you know if Baskerville's parents, it so drips of them being Sherlock Holmes fans.
Right.
I just seen, but it's just like makes it like, oh great, there's a mystery now. And it's like, I want to see that guy play.
I still haven't heard a better name than Baskerville Holmes, but those games were great back in the days. Then we can
I could put the mouse right there just because if you follow the Blue Bloods, this one's going to be interesting. A Tennessee game at, or I was looking at, I totally missed it because it was playing. There we go. So
that's
it's
the return game. The return game from when they played here last year, a little bit later in the season. Actually, it might be about the same time. And then, of course, the game, Duke comes back to the KFC Yum Center. And then a little bit, and I think in a couple weeks after that, Louisville returns. Duke will be Pat Kelsey's first trip to Durham as the U of L coach. Not sure if he coached against them when he was at Winthrop or Charleston. I'm thinking that Charleston he probably did.
Seems logical.
Right. And then, of course, the conference is down in full conference mode by that point. At Pittsburgh is always a tough game up there. Virginia Tech should be good. SMU is one of those teams that is coming into the conference, still kind of getting their feet wet, but they have been good in both basketball and football. Going forward, that weird game, another one of those neutral site games. And
which one am I staring at?
Baylor. They play Baylor in Fort Worth, Texas.
You're still in Dallas. You might as well just put them in Cowboy Stadium, which is not even in their proper city. But they're going to have home field advantage.
And I think that might be in the Cowboy Stadium, actually, at Fort Worth. So it's one of those big special ESPN conglomeration things. And so ACC, Big 12, so I'm imagining that's probably where that game is. At SMU will be tough. Then they head down to Chapel Hill, and that's one of those big Monday games. Louisville has 3 games on Big Monday this year, and luckily for the U of L fans, they're all the 7 o'clock games and not the 9 o'clock games, which they often get. So I think that first game against Duke is at 7 o'clock, and the game at North Carolina is at 7 o'clock.
Got to be respectful of the fans, Kendrick. Got to understand, on these days where
ESPN cares about that.
Oh yeah, the schedule gets busy, and I'm just trying to go to sleep at a reasonable time.
Yeah.
As we're gonna go through some old highlights, but I could also start. I believe maybe this is a clip of a roster. We go through some of these sometimes. I just want to set this up for Kendrick, where if any of these faces in this photo that Coach Kelsey's got lined up, who's someone that you think the team is going to miss them not being there anymore for this season, and some faces you'd think the fans are going to get very familiar with very quick? I know this is a close-up on Ali Khalifa.
Ali Khalifa is going to be a big-time player from this year. Pat Kelsey calls him the best passing big man in the country, which is saying a lot. And Mikael Brown compared him to the Joker. I'm like, I don't
freshman wonder.
I don't want to quite say that Ali is on the Joker's level, but he is going to be a big part of the U of L offense. They're going to miss Rain Smith. There's Kenai Roots knocking down that corner 3 right there. That was Javon Hadley. Javon Hadley is going to be a huge part of this team this year. The thing that was surprising about Javon Hadley, which I'm not sure Javon knew he had it in his game, he was a big low post presence for U of L last year because they needed it because of injury. I mean, he's undersized, but he's strong. There's Kenai Roos right there. And there's James Scott, who's not going to be on the team next year. He transferred out. And then, of course, Pat Kelsey, who loves to go up in the student section from time to time during the season, and said his mother asked him why he hadn't done it yet. So that's when he went and did it. And so it should be a fun season, full of energy with Pat Kelsey. I've seen him at the football games already this year, and he's having a blast being a part of the U of L program because he pops up everywhere. He might be at a football game. He may be at a baseball game. He's at some of the women's basketball games. Him and Jeff Walls have a good relationship together. So Pat Kelsey has definitely ingrained himself in the U of L fabric.
How curious or fascinated will you be, Kendrick? And it seems like Coach Kelsey is going to find his confidence and his style and his approach and his strategy. It sounds like someone at those post-game conferences or even in practices, like he won't divulge everything,
right?
But he'll put you in his head for the most part, understand what he's thinking. I'm always curious, for someone who's still relatively a young coach, but they're navigating this new world of NIL as well. And, what is he going to be looking for every offseason in the makeup of the teams? Are we leaning toward, you mentioned Javon Hadley, and when you don't have that depth to have the post presence, is this very much a product of us who love basketball? We live in the age of, the 3 and D guys matter. That's what matters versus is he more old school? I'm just because he looks up to the coaches that you and I would argue like those are the legends,
right?
So what does he do to get the most out of his players, especially now that you mentioned with Scott, you could find a different, more attractive offer somewhere else,
right? And that's the thing with all these coaches are going through is like it's a balance of keeping everyone happy, but still, managing your team, playing the game like you wanted to play it. I think recruiting wise, I think it's going to be a year-to-year thing. Like last year, he's totally built through the transfer portal, which is kind of the thing now. But this year, he's bringing in more high school kids. Of course, with Mikael Brown, who's one of the best players in the country coming in, and he showed it during the FIBA U19 things over over the summer. He has been fantastic. This kid already has his own AAU program, which is amazing to me. He's a freshman in college himself. But they'll fill in what they have to fill in every year in and year out.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to miss James Scott a lot because he did a lot of that. He caught a lot of lobs.
Very easy 2-point field goals.
Yeah, see, I think he was like number 2 or 3 in the country in dunks last season. And so he was fun to watch. And, he had the mask on after he had the facial injury during the season. But getting back to Kelsey's philosophy, I think there is a lot of Denny Crum in the way he does things, notably the bigger guards, because Denny was known for that. You think about the LeBradford Smiths and the Lancaster Gordons, the Milt Wagners of the world, and Mikael Brown kind of fits in that system.
Yeah.
He's in that mold. He's not as bulky as he's built more like Milt than LeBradford, because LeBradford was stocky. But that's the kind of build I feel like that Kelsey is kind of doing.
Sure.
And then he wants guys that can get out and run. He wants to get out and run. And, of course, shoot the three, like Rain Smith last year.
It's stamina. It's stamina to cover the whole court, essentially.
Yes.
All right. Well, it's okay. What are your expectations for how strong Cards basketball should start the season? Obviously, we're going to have to give them a little bit of rope or grace. Injuries, learning a new system for those who are just coming into Coach Kelsey's system. But for you and the sports team that follows this as deep as you do, what do you think their expectation is for themselves?
For themselves, I think they're thinking ACC championship and so on and so forth, making a run in the NCAA tournament. It would be nice to see them get out of the first couple of rounds of the NCAA tournament. It's been a while.
Yeah.
So I think for that part, I know the fans want more and more and more, but I'm like, for where the program was just 2 years ago, like them making it to the tournament last year was a fantastic feat. I know it was a little bit upsetting that they lost that first game against Creighton. That was actually a terrible matchup.
It was. but you know what the ceiling could be.
Yes. And the ceiling could be, national prognosticators are picking Final Four for this team. And I'm like, let's see them play. So I think they do have that potential when you look around at what the potential starting five is, especially because I'm really looking at Kenai Roos making a leap going from freshman to sophomore year. I think they're going to be a really fun team to watch, win or lose, and they're going to be one of the more exciting teams in the country.
And for Cards fans who are going to fill out the KFC Yum Center, I think if you can remember when you hit the doldrums, Kendrick, and I know you covered those, where it's just like how low could a program go relative to the standard they had set for years, and it's just like
it was tough.
and then saying now you've got there's the consistency, there's a renewed sense of hope. I think it seems the players that Coach Kelsey's finding, like they want to give it their all, like they care about the brand they're representing at the school. So that'll do wonders for the fan base building up. Kendrick, before we let you go for tonight on Wave News at 11, any other things on your radar that the folks at home would want to check in with you about the things you're looking into?
For the UK fans, Cutter Bowley, we hear from him today. He spoke yesterday. Coach Mark Stoops yesterday in his press conference said he's looking forward to seeing Cutter Bowley, seeing what he can do at quarterback. Of course, Zach Calzada was a starter. Hurt his arm. They haven't released what the injury was. Hurt his arm on a pass late in the fourth quarter in that game on Saturday. So Cutter Bowley, I think he's going to get a shot regardless of what happens. So we get to hear from Cutter for the first time tonight. And we also talk about Atherton football. Anybody who grew up in this town know that Atherton was kind of the laughingstock when it came to football for years. But my guy Anthony White is gone there. He's taken over that program. They made it to the third round of the playoffs last season. They're 3-0 undefeated so far this year. They've only given up 7 points all season. And that was
three games.
In 3 games. And that was just last week. They had shutouts in their first 2 games. Wow. But they have a serious step up in competition. Atherton is a 5A team. They take on 6A Manual with Jerry Trainer, who's one of the best running backs in the state.
2 points to that one. Jerry Trainer, again, I feel like that's a perpetual name on the TDFN Player of the Week poll. And 2, I was hearing this quote that, again, it sounds like those cliches coaches tell you all the time. I have to imagine if you're an Atherton fan, an Atherton player, that this has to ring true, Kendrick, that I'd rather take an ugly win than a pretty loss. Yeah. Like even at the step up in competition, and it just proves, whatever you've been training for in camp and OTAs makes a difference, but get the ugly win. Right. Win over loss.
And a win over Manual would be huge for this program. They're starting to get kids to come and transfer in. They got a big-time kid that came from Christian Academy that's making a difference on the team. They can beat a team like Manual. That would be huge for that program.
Just wind in their sails for the rest of the season. So, all right, awesome. Kendrick, Always good to have you here
Always good
at
to
the
see
Wave
you.
Now desk. All right, we're going to reset. We appreciate Kendrick's time, Logan's time here on the Wave Extra desk. We're going to reset to talk some more of the big stories of the evening. And again, reminder, Kendrick is going to break all these things down for you, for us tonight on Wave News at 11. Can't wait for that. We're going to be right back with much more of Wave Extra. All right, everyone, here we are, 8:37. Welcome back into the Wave Now studio for tonight's Wave Extra. Host Society, very happy to have had our sports director, Kendrick Haskins, and reporter Logan Perone to start the hour. But take a look at just one location of one of our top stories there. Troubleshooters actually spent some time looking into today. Yeah. Just some background context for you. Looks like a mess. It was a wrecking crew trying to tear down a 125-year-old former church in town. But unfortunately, the work damaged two adjacent homes when one of the church's brick walls fell the wrong way, and now one home right next door has to be torn down. And a second neighbors wanted to find out when a fence pole is going to be taken out of her living room wall. Just pretty startling images there to have seen. Now, as part of the work today, our Wave News troubleshooter Mark Stevens has found out this is not the first time the contractor involved has been accused of actually damaging other properties. Mark put in the work. We did find out the name. It's called Aesthetic Industrial Contracting, one of two demolition companies that won the city's emergency demolition contract last year. Louisville has paid the company $1.7 million for tearing down homes so far beyond repair when the city orders them torn down. This is our Mark Stevens report.
At the site of this former church where nothing but a hole and piles of bricks remain, the problem isn't the building that's gone. The city said the walls were collapsing and this church needed to go. No, this problem is with two neighboring houses. AIC owner Pat French told me the demolition went to plan until one wall fell onto the house next door. You can see the ton of bricks smash the front porch and push the home off its foundation. This wall is supposed to be straight up and down. The city has ordered it torn down as well. And a second neighbor now has a fence pole impaling her living room wall. She's waiting to hear when that will be fixed. French told me this is the first time something like this has happened, but his company has been sued twice in the last couple of years for demolition mistakes. An insurance company is suing AIC, saying when it tore down the warehouse destroyed by a massive fire on Caldwell Street in 2023, workers also let bricks fall onto the adjacent property, causing $63,000 in damages. Another property owner sued in 2021, saying AIC tore down a home without their permission at all. Both cases are still working their way through the courts. The city says the renter in the neighboring home is being put up in a hotel for now. It said in part, while it's always difficult to see a property lost, public safety must come first. The vacant structure posed a serious risk to the community and prompt action was necessary.
So that was our Mark Stevens with that report. Now, he learned it's still not clear if the city is going to have AIC demolish the property it damaged as well, so that neighboring home. French telling Mark Stevens in the troubleshooters tonight he's already been in contact with the owner to work out a solution. The city contract, by the way, requires him to maintain at least $1 million in insurance coverage. So something we'll certainly be keeping tabs of tonight. More stories we are following. Bardstown police want your help identifying this suspect. If you see in the far, background there of your screen on this Ring camera, it's a suspect they're looking for now in a string of recent break-ins, in fact. So this is all posted onto Bardstown PD's Facebook, but brought and downloaded, uploaded from those home security cameras. In two separate incidents, we are able to see someone wearing all black, wearing a backpack, and coming into frame at certain points of the night. It almost looks as if the person's checking out to scope the area before walking up to cars with a flashlight. You see the flashlight there in hand. Police are asking for anyone who might live in East Templin, Westview Drive, North 5th or North 3rd areas to keep checking their cameras, see if they got a better look at this possible suspect. And if you do know who this person is, Bardstown police are asking that you do please give them a call. More stories that we're following tonight. This one a bit in the bizarre folder. We're the first to let you know, by the way, here on Wave News, that Oldham County Police were looking for a person of interest in an ongoing case. Police actually shared this picture on social media trying to ID this person. It's a pretty grainy image. You can kind of make out a face, though. It was, again, posted on their social. This is the only really evident piece of information, the clue that they're working on for the moment. Oldham Police, we did ask them if they could release any other details on this case. We did get a response this afternoon from Oldham County Police. I'm just reading quote from what I have in front of me, that this is a person of interest seen in the area of several property crimes in the Pee Wee Valley area, and we are trying to identify him. So that is the intent of police trying to find out who this person is. We can maybe make out they're wearing a hoodie or something, trying to cover their face. But you see the bit of a light coloring or whatever that effect is to zero in on the person's face that was captured in this still a grainy picture. But if you do know who this person is or anything that might be able to lead police toward solving their case, you're asked to reach out to them if you can. And now we're getting more details on an arson investigation that revealed the danger that was smoldering behind a deadly house fire. A domestic dispute, we learned, pretty much ended in or resulted from a man starting this fire, trying to make sure a woman inside with him could not escape, preventing her from doing so. This is what happened Sunday on June Drive in the Hollyvilla neighborhood. This was near Fairdale, and this is when the scene was still treated as that crime investigation. Something our reporter David Mattingly spent some time digging into more of this new information. Investigators confirming it was 38-year-old Nelson County man Matthew Hodge that deliberately started this fire on June Drive. Louisville Fire's Arson Bureau reports that Hodge died after setting clothes on fire, and that armed with a knife, he was trying to prevent a woman from escaping. At our last check tonight, that woman still badly hurt, receiving pretty critical care in a hospital. Investigators still not answering, though, all the questions about what led up to the actual violence.
We're just tying up some loose ends, still have some interviews to conduct and some other things to go through, but it's ongoing. All investigations are ongoing. They take a long time.
That was Major Jason Sanders with Louisville Fire's arson team, bringing you back to the scene of the crime there. Apparently, investigators did learn, though, the couple was visiting the home where the fire was started up on the second floor. As for the family of four who do live at this particular property at this home, they were able to get out safely before anything worse had occurred. As we're inching closer to the 3/4 mark of the hour, 8:45, we're going to take one more break to walk through some more stories I wanted to share with you as we unpack and unwind from our Tuesday of work and school and the stories we've been covering. Just going to share some of that with you, including new groundbreaking for this JCPS project. We're going to end with that, of course. But we're going to take a quick commercial break. Be right back for this last bit of tonight's Wave Extra. Welcome back, everyone. We're back here with our last segment on tonight's edition of Wave Extra. By the way, always appreciate you joining us, whether that's through the free-to-download Wave Now app on your smart TV devices. That could be your Roku device, Apple, Amazon Fire Stick, all that good stuff. And if you're joining us also on the live social streams, I appreciate you doing so, by the way, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. So you're all tuned in on that right now. I always appreciate seeing that. So this will be a story that, depending on how Metro Council wants to move forward on a potential plan for these policies, the minority coalition or caucus in Metro Council say they've come up with a list of policy and legislative proposals that they believe are going to make Louisville a safer city. These proposals are part of Louisville Metro Council Republicans' Safer Louisville Plan. This was the report that our Fernando Garcia Francescini spent time digging into today with details on the ideas, what the argument is from leaders that say these are things that are going to improve safety, that some of these proposals from the counselors address aspects of crimes that could escalate, they argue, into more dangerous criminal activity. Others include putting more officers or bringing them into local neighborhoods, and that they think this working in concert could then help reduce gun violence in Louisville.
Councilwoman Jenny Mulvey Woolridge cites public safety as one of her top priorities in Metro Council.
It's big to my constituents. It's big to me as a mom, as a wife, big to Louisville in general.
It's why she joined her fellow Republicans in Metro Council to come up with a list of proposals they say will make Louisville safer. Among the ideas is to add state police patrols on Jefferson County interstate roadways.
Hoping we can work with them to get a partnership to alleviate some of the work LMPD is currently doing to put them back on the streets in the neighborhoods.
The Republican caucus is also pushing for what they call a timely reopening of a juvenile justice center within Jefferson County. Right now, it's slated to be ready by 2027.
Coming from the background of a project manager, I would like to make sure we're hitting the current milestones that are currently in place. I don't want to see another 3 years get past us without that.
The council members are also proposing working with the mayor's office, the Jefferson County Circuit Court Clerk, and other groups to create a third-party judicial scoreboard. They say it'll track release rates, shock probation, and other stats that'll help create transparency for prosecutors and judges.
What are the judges doing throughout our judiciary system, and making sure that is public knowledge.
Fernando Garcia Francescini reporting on this, and the councilwoman says many of the proposals do have bipartisan support. As for a breakdown of at least the step-by-step in the caucus's Safer Louisville plan, if that's something you wanted to read, we do have that available for you on our website, wave3.com. Touching on some other big stories and investigations we're keeping our eyes on. Police say they arrested a juvenile, so a child, in connection to a shooting in Fern Creek. Again, though, because they're not 18 years old or older, police are not releasing the suspect's name. But we do know is this shooting happened around quarter to 6 in the morning, August 4th. Police report that we were able to get a copy of telling us the suspect was trying to break into a home on Carmel Drive to steal a car. When the victim heard the alarm go off, the report says one of the suspects yelled, "Shoot him." A man was shot on the left side of his face, should be okay. But police say a stolen car from Lexington was involved in the shooting itself and also connected to a string of car break-ins. And when police arrested this minor, that they also did find 3 guns in their possession. Meanwhile, we know one company is hoping to bring new life to a vacant warehouse that's out in West Louisville. I want to show you that image from our crews that they were able to get this scene of the property. Von Payne Spirits acquired the building at 1400 West Broadway. They say they want to turn the 60,000 square foot space into a Gothic-inspired distillery, looking at the architecture. They want to transform it into the Von Payne Castle Distillery and Tasting Experience. Based on their proposal, preliminary that we know so far, the new facility would showcase Von Payne's signature bourbon to bring new jobs. The building, by the way, also used to be home to the historic Widesides Bakery that opened in 1908 as Bond Bread, once hailed as one of the more sophisticated bakeries in the United States. But you can see just the markings of what it used to be, perhaps falling into that disrepair, and now new owners trying to, there you see the old sign of the Bond Bread, but trying to take over with a new vision for that property. And we're going to end tonight with a modern learning environment now putting a focus on safety. This is a brand new JCPS school building in the PRP neighborhood that's going to cost more than $30 million to complete once it's all said and done. Our Brian Schlonsky spent some time at the old Carrick Elementary School building where district leaders officially started. They broke the ground as a bit of a ceremonial gesture on this new state-of-the-art facility.
I think it'd be a great school for kids.
For the McDonough kids,
Math. Math? You like the math?
it's safe to say they're excited for the future at their elementary school.
I like it because it has glass that you can see through a different room and not just outside.
The current building at Carrick Elementary has been here since the 50s, but Tuesday, JCPS officially broke ground on what will soon become the new facility. It'll cost around $30 million to build, part of the district's 10-year plan to rebuild or renovate 25 schools, aided by the fact that the district no longer needs to build a new headquarters.
KFC Yum Corporation donated to us their headquarters, which we'll be using for central office. And through the generosity of that donation, essentially we can rebuild an elementary school for free.
The superintendent says modern lighting, flexible learning spaces, and family-focused areas will help usher in a future style of learning.
It's designed to be a beacon of modern education. As we know, education is changing, our student population is changing, so we have to build and we have to have our buildings that match that level of change.
With a major focus on school safety.
Security is paramount. The main entrance will feature a secure vestibule to carefully control visitor access, and the gymnasium has been designed to double as a storm shelter, accommodating every student and every staff member.
And the McDonough siblings, old building or new, they're good kids. Matthew, Clara, and Connor watching out for each other.
I'm looking forward to when I get to see Connor happy. Yay!
All right, thanks to our Brian Schlonsky reporting there. The new Carrick Elementary is going to feature more than 80,000 square feet for students and the teachers there, set to open in the fall of 2027. By the way, a reminder that you can come onto the website, wave3.com, to take a look at also the pictures, the renderings. Brian's reporting part of everything we're updating as soon as we do get it, including even some of this breaking news. In fact, this just refreshed as I was coming back to the homepage on the website. So why don't we just click on that to give you that indication of what's going on. A little bit of a delay there as probably the stream shows up too. But even this, just right into, my system on my computer. We're learning this motorcyclist died in a crash in Greene County, Kentucky. This is our Wave digital team updating things in real time as soon as we get those confirmations from first responders and from sources and everything we're looking into. They're right there for you. Easy to access, wave3.com, the Wave News app, the Wave Weather Now app, all great tools for you to have at your disposal. And before maybe we wrap up the day in earnest on this Tuesday, reminder, we're going to be in the main studio for tonight's Wave News at 11, talking weather, talking sports, talking with our reporting team, again, a deeper dive into the preview of getting ready for 2 busy musical weeks here in the Louisville Metro. So that's something we'll look forward to. Hopefully you can join us on tonight on Wave News at 11. Always appreciate your time. I'm Jose Sosaya for Wave News Extra in the Wave Now studio. We'll see you again tomorrow at 8.